Good afternoon guys and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a little bit more putting. It is still quite cold outside. We are going to go out onto the putting green and talk about pace in this video. But to start with, we're going to talk about what we went through last week. So last week we talked about some drills you can do that cost nothing, that you can do in your house. But now what we're going to talk about is how you can work on your pace, what you need to do to improve that, but also that comes from posture. So we're going to talk a little bit of both and how it's going to affect your pace control today. Then we're going to get out on the putting green and we're going to talk through that as well. So we talked obviously drills last week. We talked about getting the ball in between those, having a gate and working the putter through there to encourage a centered strike. If we could get a more centered strike, we're hopefully going to have a better pace control. We're going to start the ball online more and we're going to start to hole more putts. A lot of the times you might do that drill, it doesn't really work, and a lot of it comes down to posture, and posture is the key thing there. If we can get you set up basically correct to start with, we've got more of a chance of getting that putter working neutral, hitting the centre of the face and reducing your handicap. So a lot of times the posture I see is everyone's told you, right, you need to stand really rigid, okay, straight back, don't look down at the ball, everything nice and solid. And from here we see a lot of people tilt, putter works up. It didn't roll too bad, but it's missed, but I don't know why it's missed. So again, very rigid, arms are straight, back's very straight. We've got no rotation. We've got no tempo to our stroke. So obviously what that encourages to do, if we're very rigid and straight, yeah, I've seen them on TV, they've got a nice solid posture, we get our arms straight, we've seen DeChambeau, his arms are straight. But what we see from a lot of amateurs, we're too far away to start with. And from there, we have a lot of tilting motion. So this putter works up very high on the backstroke, comes very far off the ground, and then from there, we've got to get that ball back down into it, maybe working a little bit up. It's got a lot of work to do. It's just like in chipping this far away, we have a lot of face rotation, and it's very hard over a short chip to square that up. The same here. If this putter works up very high, it's going to be very hard to control what kind of loft you've got on there. We're only making a short stroke, maybe 10, 15 inches. But if we come 6 inches off the ground, we've got a lot of work there to do, and that's coming from your posture. If I'm that rigid guy who stood there, yep, we've seen it on TV, that looks perfect, I feel like I'm in the correct posture, that is just not going to be repeatable. A lip out. So what we also see from there is it's very hard to judge your tempo because everything's rigid, because everything's, 10 out of 10. I'm strangling the club, my arms are straight, they're out solid, my back's very solid. We can't control this putter head. If you think, get your putter in the house, grip that. If you grip it very tight, it's very hard to go through with any kind of stroke. So it's any kind of tempo. What we see a lot of times, it gets very quick and it's more of a hit and a flick with the wrist. So we've got no set backswing length, we've got no kind of tempo, especially when we get to a 30-footer, it's very much, right, I'm nice and rigid, right, there we go. And we give it a good old hit. Head moves back, we catch it at low on the face, it bobbles half of the way there, it then either rockets 10-foot past, or it gets nowhere near the hole. So we want to make sure that we're getting into that posture. So when we get into a comfortable posture, again, my arms want to be tucked into my side here. I've done this drill before on the channel. We then bend from the waist, let that putter fall, and add a little bit of knee bend. So you can see I've got angles there. My arms, forearms are matching the shaft. My back is not perfectly straight. It does have a little bit of curve in there. And we can let the head drop, so head drop to feel comfortable, because that's going to help you see straight. So if I stand up like that, it's going to have an effect on everything's going to look to the right. If I go like this, everything's going to look to the left. So for me, for you, depending on your eye donancy, that could be different, but it's dependent on where it feels right to you. So we want to let that posture get in there, feel comfortable, a little bit of knee bend, and let the head fall. That's nice and comfortable, and I can now get my body rotating. My stroke can be a lot more neutral, and we can hole more putts. Again, grip strength, we're thinking 5 out of 10. I'm starting to think, right, I'm not strangling this club, I'm letting that club actually have a little bit of swing and let it do the work. So what I want to do now is give you a drill, something you can do in your routine to help you with this. You can do that posture routine to set up, but then we need to think about pace, because pace control is the biggest thing that kills amateur golfers. Do we get it inside those ranges? They are a little bit more than you'd expect, so realistically we're looking at around about a 10% miss depending where you're from. So 20 feet, for example, we should be with inside 2 feet. if you're on tour. So give yourself, depending on your handicap, a little bit of a target. If it's 4 feet, and then from there, yes, nobody likes 4-footers, but if we get our posture better, if we do those drills from last week, we're going to start to hold more of those and feel more confident. But let's get down onto the chipping green now, or the putting green even, and we're going to show you some pace drills that show you how we can get that working and what you can do to help you improve. So guys, now we're out on the putting green. If you can get onto your putting green, you'll see that I've set up a gate now, so I'm doing a little bit of work from last week. So I'm getting my gate down there. I've made that a little bit too tight, even for myself. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on multiple things here. So this setup here, we've got 10, 20, 30 feet, tees down at those, a relatively straight putt. We're not trying to hit the tees, we're just thinking about pace now, but I'm ticking a few boxes. So you've got to think, we've got to be able to get better at our stroke, get a centred strike, so that's what we're working on with the gate. We then want to work on our pace, and then the only other thing we're left with is green reading, which is another story. But that's something else I could work on a different part of my practice. So if you've got a putting green, get on the side of the putting green, get these tees down and stop the focus being on the hole and holing out on short putts. Let's get your pace better, because 90% of people are going to improve more and lower your scores by getting this correct. But one thing we're going to do, and by the title, a lot of people have commented saying, oh, you've just put this title to get people to look, but it's not looking at the ball. And the reason I say that is we need to add a routine in. So we've got the routine of setting up now. We bend from the waist, let that putter drop, add a little bit of knees. Let our head be in a comfortable position. Then from there, when I'm thinking about distance, I want to think about, right, I'm going to go to that 10-foot tee. So I'm going to look at the tee and make 3 practice strokes without stopping, and then in over the ball nice and quickly and hit that. You see there, pretty much bang on the line, if not just past. So what I've done there is I've visualised it. If you think about, if I was going to throw you a ball, I wouldn't just stand here and just chuck it like that. I would have a couple of swings and then I'd release that. The same as if I was throwing a ball here. I'd have a couple of swings looking at my target. I wouldn't be standing there looking at my hand and then releasing it. So why do we look down at the putter? And obviously what I do see a lot from amateurs is they follow the putter. Oh, that was a figure of 8. That's not a good stroke. Right, I'll do that again. And everything gets slower and slower, and we have no consistency then to take onto a putt. So if I now wanted to go for the 20-foot tee, so again, I'm not going for the tee. I'm going to try and miss this golf ball to start with, but I'm going to visualise looking at that tee. Then I'm going to come in, have one last look, and I'm going to hit that putt. And you see there, right, a little bit pacey. So that's one that I need to work on. So what we would do is I'd come in again, take my time, I'd go 1, 2, 3, in over the ball. So I took my time a little bit better there, and now that's pretty much bang on line. So you see what we'd do, guys, if you was doing this drill, what I would get you to do is hit 3 balls first to the first tee. So hit 3 balls when you're comfortable that they're in 10, 20%, depending on your handicap. Then what we would do is we'd hit 3 towards the second tee, so 20 feet, and then we'd hit 3 to the final tee, and you might start to see the pattern. You might see, oh, I struggle more with 10 feet as opposed to 30 feet. You might be the opposite. I struggle more with 30 feet. I can't get it anywhere near, but I'm pretty good at 10 feet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for the last one. So again, take my time, visualise the stroke to get to that last tee. Should have really brought this first ball back. And then pull the trigger, and you see that it's around about 1.5 foot short, so that would be well inside tour average. Again, I'm not going for the tee itself, I'm going for distance. But then how we would finish is going to random. So obviously on the golf course, you're not going to get the same putt every time, or well, hopefully you hit it close every time and you get the same putt, but you're not going to have the same putt every single time. So first of all, I'm going to go to 20 feet. And the goal is to get it in my range. So I'm going on tour average, which is obviously 10%. So I've got 2 foot short and 2 foot long. For you guys, you might go, right, I'm going to give myself 15, 20% difference and see which one works for you. So I'm going to go 20 feet. Again, think about your handicap and make it personal to you, and then start to improve on that. Good. So that's inside a foot short. So I'd move on now. I'm going to go randomly. I'll go short now. So I'm going to go for the 10-footer now. Again, change my practice swings, visualise that. Then come in. pull the trigger. So that's bang on it, so that's 2 for 2. And then to complete the game, what I'm going to do, trying to get one inside 3 feet to 30 feet. So again, set your own goals, guys. Set what suits you, and then start to work on that. Have something to work towards. I have to send it a bit wider, but that's perfectly online. So set yourself a target, guys. Tour average is 10%, so obviously we'd have a foot at 10, 2 feet at 20, 3 feet at 30, but think about if you're a mid-handicapper, give yourself a little bit more leeway, but then try and get towards tour average. If you start to improve that, you're working on your gate control, so you're working on a centered strike, you're then working on your pace, and then all you need to think about is, are you green reading, or is your green reading any good? And if it's not, figure out why. Are you missing high? Are you missing low? A lot of people don't blame the green reading, but if you get this better, you'll start to see that, all right, I'm just not giving the green enough break, so I'm getting nowhere near the hole. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully that's something for you to work on. Hopefully you can get on your putting green, and we'll see you again later in the week.